Morning everyone. Hope you're all well and not getting too frustrated with all the restrictions we're facing at the moment. I hope, like us, you're able to enjoy the beautiful spring weather. Hopefully it'll last until we can go a bit further, perhaps even to the beach to enjoy it. Liz and I have the privilege of living in a lovely small village surrounded by farmland. The other day when we were out walking, we passed a field just up the road full of very large sheep. I'm not a farmer, but even I could recognise that they're not far off lambing, unless of course they were being fattened up for an Easter Day feast. One of the delights of spring that I'm really looking forward to is waking early on a sunny day and hearing the bleating of lambs in fields around. As I was watching the sheep enjoying lush green grass, with plenty of water available, I thought of the lovely words of Psalm 23, which speaks of green pastures and still waters. A lovely picture of how God wants us to trust Him to lead and guide us, to provide for us. As I thought of this picture, I remember seeing a very different flock in a very different setting. A few years ago, Liz and I had a holiday in Egypt in a Red Sea resort. We had the opportunity to go down to Luxor to see the ancient temples, a journey of about 180 miles in a very hot minibus. Much of the road is through desert, barren countryside with very little vegetation or signs of water. We saw few people until we got near the River Nile. One of the few memorable sights was of a shepherd leading a mixed flock of sheep and goats. Not a sign of a sheepdog or a farmer in a 4x4, just a solitary shepherd leading, not driving, the flock. No lush green grass or still waters, just harsh desert scrub and stony ground, much like I imagine it must have been in Bible times. I started to wonder why the sheep would follow the shepherd. I guess they have an inbred instinct to follow because somehow they know that the shepherd will provide refreshment, food and water, as well as protection from the elements and other dangers. Maybe we feel we're not really enjoying green pastures and still waters at present because of all the uncertainties we're facing. Reduced incomes, lack of freedom, interruption of education or career, even threats to life itself for ourselves and those around us. Rather, we may feel we're going through a desert experience. The end of Psalm 23 speaks of God being with us even when we're going through the darkest of times and experiences, His presence never leaving us. In Psalm 100, the psalmist says, "It is God who made us, and we are His people, the sheep of His pasture." This is one of my favourite verses. Liz and I have known the truth of this verse, that God made us and we are His, since we were children, both having had the privilege of growing up in Christian families. And life has been and is good. But there have been times when we've faced real difficulties and pressures in family and work, including losing family members far too early, redundancy, and the corresponding financial restraints, when it would have perhaps been quite easy to think that God wasn't there for us in those desert situations. On the contrary, we found that it's easier to keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, like the sheep in the desert, at these times. We've realised we can't sort things out ourselves. We've needed Him to guide us and lead us, to comfort us, provide for us when we can't do so ourselves. When all's going well, it's so easy to think we can manage on our own, without God's help. Not a recipe for success, really. As we face the realities today, however hard or easy, may we remember that the reality that we are His people, the sheep of His pasture, that He'll provide for us in these difficult days, and will lead us through them. Like the flock in the desert, we need to keep our eyes on Jesus. May you receive and enjoy all that Jesus has for you today. God bless you. Oh, and by the way, I'm sure you'll be pleased to know that the sheep were lambing. Now lots of very young lambs in the field, all keeping very close to their mums, because they instinctively know that the mum is there to protect them and feed them.